All right, you guys, and welcome back to the studio. Today, we are actually having another one of our episodes here at the San Luis Resort back at Summit. That's right. One of our very special guests, none other than Mia, is here with us. Mia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast with us, and just knowing that it's a new face that some of our students don't really know that well. So what are you doing exactly here at Summit?
Well, I'm from Louisiana, and I'm here serving with the worship team, leading worship.
Okay.
It's been a blast.
Your voice is just like truly gifted,
and
I love it so much. Jamie
you.
told me a little bit about you beforehand, because obviously I have all the documents, and so I see everyone's names, and I'm like,
I know
who is Mia? And she goes, dude, pull her up on Spotify. So I was like, oh, okay. And so we sat there in the office listening to you. I was like,
so funny.
It's giving a mixture of like Lauren Daigle and Elle King. Like that was what I thought of immediately.
Thank you.
It's so good. But I love it to pieces. So how did you get started in worship and everything?
Well, I started singing at an early age at 5, and then grew up in the church. So, singing praise and worship in the little kid venues, just growing in that, doing all the little hand motions. That's just kind of what I did. And then when I got to middle school and high school, served on the worship team. College took a little bit of a break from ministry as a whole, and then came back to serve about 18, 19 years old. And then I've been doing it full time for about 2 years now. I'm almost 24. So
wow.
It's been
that is incredible.
Awesome.
What'd you do in college? Like, what'd you study?
I studied music business.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Ainsley Burton was talking about, how she, I think it was minored in music business. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Did you know Ainsley at the Bayou?
I didn't. I think I knew her sister. Her sister's closer to my age. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So how come you knew you didn't want to do music business?
I kind of figured it out halfway, because the whole goal was, when I started, I was like, I'm never going to change my major. I know what I want to do, and it's this. I was very hard-headed about that. So I studied music business. When I started, I wanted to be like a tour manager, work behind the scenes. And honestly, looking back, it was kind of internally in the back of my head that like I wasn't confident enough to believe that I could get to the singer part. I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to make it to that point. Maybe just play it safe and I'll work behind the scenes. Yeah. Well, about halfway through, I just felt God be like, Mia, like, I'm going to get you there, but it's going to be on my terms and my terms only. It's not going to be how you want it. So after about halfway through, I was like, man, I really just like want to worship and sing and do it for the Lord. So yeah, it was pretty interesting, the whole college thing, but looking back, I'm like, wow, like it totally played out how God wanted it. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about confidence, especially. How do you find that the Lord instilled that confidence within you?
It really has to do with me personally, the people that I was surrounding myself with. The people who lift me up constantly and just encourage me, I believe, is just an image, a little small piece of what the Lord does. So that was a big part of just continue to surround myself with people who are going to lift me up and who are going to strengthen me and instill confidence in me. It's all just from the Lord. So.
Yeah. How'd you find that group of people?
It's crazy because a lot of them are from when I was doing middle school, high school ministry, growing in the church. And then, as you get older, you kind of lose touch. Everyone goes their different ways. But then coming back together and, just kind of reconnecting and just like, man, like I've missed the friendship and all we've done these last few years, and just continue to grow as we're adults now. So I think that was something from God. I moved to Nashville in 2022.
Wow.
Thought I was going to live there forever. Again, that was on my terms. I was like, gonna do what I need to do here. But then 9 months later, God brought me back to serve full-time as a worship leader at the Bayou Church. And that's kind of where I just reconnected with everyone. And I do believe God brought me to Nashville, but it was to strengthen me up and grow into the person I needed to become, to come back and do what I needed to do. I thought it was different. I was like, God's bringing me, green lights everywhere. God's bringing me to Nashville. It's for these reasons. But no, it's not those reasons. It's for different reasons to come back home and do what I needed to do.
Would you say that your time living in Nashville was hard on you?
I mean, it wasn't easy, and I knew it was going to be difficult. I go from smallish town of Lafayette, knowing everybody, to going to Nashville knowing like 2 people. And I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew it was going to be hard, and I knew I was going to have to work for it and do what I needed to do, working 3 jobs. And so it was difficult, but it was hard. Like, oh, man, I miss my home, It was hard to not think of, okay, well, what if I stayed home? Or, oh, what if I stayed in Nashville? Because you'll always have those thoughts.
Yeah.
But just believing, okay, God brought me here for a reason. And I'm just going to start living that reason and find purpose in it, because I could sit all day and like, oh, what if, or maybe I should have. It's not what God wants. He wants you to trust him.
Did you move there during college or after college?
After college.
Okay.
Saved up all through college. The plan was to haul it to Nashville.
What did you do in Nashville specifically?
It was really just to meet people and somehow get my foot in the door, wherever that was going to be. And I met a lot of really great people that I still talk to today. But it just wasn't for me.
So I talked about Jamie telling me everything. And obviously, we looked at your Spotify account, but we also looked at your Instagram, because she said, you need to look at her. Her aesthetic's so fire. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I looked up your Instagram, and I was like, dude, she actually looks so cool. And so I was looking specifically.
That is, my friends, when they watch this, are going to be like, she's the lamest person.
The lamest person ever. No, but your like aesthetic that you have, like, it's so fire, because I think it was just like, it's unique, and I think that's what I like about it. But specifically, your hats. Your hats are so cool.
Thank you.
Do you make them yourself?
Yes, and I'm starting to get into the whole video aspect. So I have some friends who are going to help me, make some professional videos of me actually starting on the hat to finish. But it is, they're called hat bodies. They just come in, you steam them in the steamer. Then you have hat blocks for every different head size. So like my head size is a 58, so I need a 59 block for it. And so, say your head size is a 57, well, you need a 58 block for it. So you need all these wooden hat blocks to fit specifically for the person's head size. So you steam it, block it, shape it.
Do you ever get a block that's like way too big and you don't have one? Or you ever get like a head?
So I have about 12 blocks right now.
Okay.
And there's still some I need. And my plan is, say I have someone and I need that block, I'll just end up buying it, because they're very expensive. Just one block is
really
a lot of money. They're wooden, they're hand carved, and they're usually from another country, because not many U.S. people make them. So
what classifies as having a big head? I'm sorry, this is so
no,
random.
No, you're fine.
I'm just like, big head. What?
I thought my head was like gigantic, but it's actually more on like the medium to large size. But I think small head sizes probably range from like 54 to 56 in centimeters. And then medium is like 57 to 59. And then probably large is like a 60 to 63 to 64.
All I can think about right now is wondering what my dad and my brother's head size is, just because they've got pretty massive bowling balls on their heads. Sorry if y'all are listening to this. Just know, y'all already know y'all got big heads, but in a good way, I promise. Anyways, that was the first thing that came to mind, like having all the different sizes. How'd you get started with making those hats?
Yeah, it's honestly a God thing, because I never knew anything about hats. The only time I ever heard about a hatter was the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. In college, though, we have a hat maker in Lafayette, and I followed him on Instagram because, local artist, really cool guy. Just followed him on Instagram. Well, it was like 3 months out till my graduation in December of 21, and was planning on moving in January of 22, and it's probably like October, and I'm on Instagram and I see him post part-time help, holiday help. And I did not need another job. I didn't. But something in me was like, go work for him.
Let's do this.
Even like holiday help, even if it's just a few months, go work for him. This guy's really cool. Again, no plan, anything about hats. Like, just, it's like, oh, cool. So work for this guy. And they are more on the high end of hats. So not many people are coming in buying hats all day. Right. Maybe one person a day comes in and buys a hat. So I'd have a lot of free time to, watch him make hats. And so just watching the process amazed me. It blew my mind. It was, my mom and my sister are visual artists, and they can draw whatever you tell them, paint whatever. It's amazing. I mean, Christmas time, I go buy something for my mom. My sister paints this big portrait, and I'm like, really? But I could never do art. So when I saw him make these hats, I was like, I want to learn how to do that. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So when I moved to Nashville, I bought my own hat block, kind of researched some stuff, and, started practicing making myself hats. So, and I messed up a lot of felts. So when I finally made one that I was somewhat proud of, I sent, the hat maker in town the picture, and he was like, no way, I'm so proud of you. The next time you're in town, come over to the store. I'm going to train you properly, give you all the tips. Wow. To do what you need to do. So then I ended up moving home, and he is so supportive. Every time I post a picture, he comments like, I'm so proud of you. He gives me all the tips, lets me know the do's and don'ts of the hat making industry, because there are a lot of do's and don'ts, especially with different hat makers. You don't want to step on other people's toes. It's just a respect thing in the hat making industry. So it's just been really cool. It's like I would have never thought that would have ever happened. Recently made a hat for Lauren Daigle, which was really cool. Wow. That was just like, what?
So when you see a picture for her now, you're going to be like, yeah, that's my hat right there.
Yeah. So it's just crazy, how everything lines up at the end of the day, and especially when it's a God thing, it's insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, another part of your Instagram that I saw was, do you have a band?
Yes.
Will you tell us a little bit about your band?
Yes. So I'll do shows here and there, but I still am an independent artist, so I am the manager. I am, the costume designer. I am the leader. Like, I do it all. So it is very stressful, and I usually take a vacation after I have a show. Just lining everything up, tickets, it's all me. Behind the computer, promo, all me. But yeah, I have Alex, Ed, Jason, Dakota, and Greg, and myself. So there's 6 of us. And we'll do shows maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Wow. And it's really fun. We have a good time, and we love it.
Where do y'all do shows at?
So 2 times this year. No, 1 time already this year. I put on my own show. And I try to find family-friendly venues, which are a bit limited in town, just because, I want all ages to be able to come. Yeah. But then we did a festival called Hope Fest. We did the Cajun Heartland State Fair. In the fall, we're doing a fest called Nomad Fest. And I'm working on a few other fests that I'm trying to get my foot in the door on that.
That's
but
so fun. Yeah. What's the name of your band?
It's just me and Montero.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, it's just my name.
That's kind of a vibe, though. That's why I'm like saying your whole aesthetic is like such a vibe. I feel like everyone would relate to it a little bit. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, normally we always say this for the end, but I feel like you might have a really good answer to this question. We always ask each and every one of our guests on the podcast what your biggest yay God moment is, whether it's today, this week, this month, kind of whatever. Yeah. What would you say your biggest yay God moment is?
I think, I keep journals of prayers. So since 2016, when I started as an artist independently, I was 15 years old, 16 really. And every year I would mark down, okay, these are my prayers for 2016, prayers for 2017. And I go back each year and I look at, the prayers, most of them answered yes. Mm-hmm. And the ones answered no, I'm like, I'm so glad those are answered no, because I'm looking at them in a different perspective, and they're answered in a much better way as a yes. So looking back in that and just seeing how God has blessed me in so many different ways and has heard the desires of my heart, but answered them in so much of a better way. Like hats, I never prayed to become a hat maker, but being able to do that and, get my message across in an encouraging way through my hats and through my music. I mean, it's just has been the biggest yes and answered prayer ever. So,
has your prayer life always been very strong with the Lord?
Since 2016 is such just a crazy year for me, because that was a year I woke up one day randomly. I was sophomore in high school, and it was like, I'm going to do music, whether that's singing behind the scenes. At the time, I really wanted to be a singer, but kind of got that fear around 18, 19 years old. But I was like, I'm going to do music no matter what, and God's going to get me there, and I'm going to do it however. And, along the way, you do have some struggles, and there were some moments I did lose a little bit of faith, because it's like, okay, God, I'm working all these jobs. All my friends are having fun, and I'm having to go work just to be able to pay for music recordings or promo, whatever. But I just, at the back of my mind, heart, always knew that, Mia, you're going to make it out in the end, and it's going to be great, and it's all going to be for His glory. Mm-hmm. So.
How do you find that you reinstilled the faith? Because I know in the book of Matthew specifically, we see in Matthew 14:22-33, I believe it is Jesus walking on water, and it's talking about how Peter says, Jesus, if it's really you, then call me to walk to you.
Yeah.
And so he starts to walk on water, but then he doubts, and that's when he starts to sink. So what pulls you back to have the faith towards the Lord?
I think just looking back and remembering, look at all He's done, So it's like this little hiccup in the road, or this, little burden, what makes you think God's not going to get you through that? Look at all He's done in the past, So that's really what gets me through. It's like, God has blessed me so much. I can only imagine what He's going to do in the future.
How would you encourage someone else, whether it's a friend or just someone listening to the podcast, to keep going, to have faith?
Yeah. Looking back, I would watch a lot of, artist interviews, people I looked up to, and it would always kind of annoy me when one of them would be like, just never give up. Keep following your dreams. Because it's like, we've heard that before.
Yeah.
But it really is true. When you keep pushing and you keep going and you don't let anything get in your way, you're going to go so far. And plus, when you have God on your side, when you trust God, you're going to go so much farther. Than giving up and losing hope, because God's always going to get you where you need to be, and at the end of the day, it may not be what you prayed for in the beginning, but you're going to look back and be like, man, I'm so glad it wasn't that, because what God has provided is so much better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah. And who knows, if you do, praying for something and He does bless you with that, that's amazing. But just remember to never lose sight that God blessed you with that, to never forget that that's all Him. That's not for your glory, it's for His glory. So
would you say you wrote down every time that you prayed, or you had a journal that you specifically went to, or did you just remember the fact that you were struggling with that?
It was like a journal, bulleted list. I'm not a huge journaler, but just like, these are the things that, I'm desiring, I'm praying for. And then a year later, I'd put a check mark by the ones that the Lord said yes to. And if no, I'd just write down, okay, what's different? And how is it better than you could have ever imagined?
Did you learn to study the Word specifically that way, or was that just something that you found was helpful to you?
That's something I just found helpful to me, because journaling, was always encouraged, especially that age. But it was never big for me, though I write songs. Journaling was kind of difficult for me. But just kind of writing down simple, doesn't have to be long, but just things I can just pray over, and God knows. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Mia, tell us a little bit what you're doing right now at the Bayou with being head of worship, or?
Yeah, so my boss is the worship director, and then I'm the worship leader. So I work a lot with planning the music, picking songs for different events, working with the vocalists and the team, strengthening them up through rehearsals, just building that community. And I'm so blessed to say that we've always had such a great community at the Bayou, but just to continue inviting people and to let people know we are always open arms, even though sometimes we seem like a small little family. We're always welcoming new people and always want new people to join our team. So that's something I'm really strong for.
How long have you been there?
I've gone to that church my whole life, but full-time 2 years.
Okay, and how long do you plan on being there?
However long the Lord wants me there.
That's a good answer. I shouldn't have even asked that, honestly. We should have known that, really. Yeah. Well, is there any other tidbits that you would like to share that you would encourage someone to say, hey, have faith, have perseverance, keep going. The Lord is working in your life.
Yeah. just whatever the desires are of your heart, just keep going. You know, whatever that is, occupation, dream, studies, whatever that is, just keep going. I know it's like so annoying to hear sometimes, and it's like a broken record. It's like, who wants to hear that? But it really is true, because God's going to get you out on the other side.
Yeah. Was there a specific verse that spoke to you during that time that you were in Nashville to when you were thinking that the Lord might pull you back?
Yeah. So my album is called Sweeter Than Honey. And one of my favorite songs on that album is Sweeter Than Honey. And I just remember writing the songs, and when I wrote that song, I just knew it was going to be the title and like everyone's favorite. And I think it was because from the verse of Psalms, his love is sweeter than honey, or sweetness like honey. And that just kind of clicked with me, like God's never going to be bitter towards you. He's never going to be sour against you. Even when you fall away from him or turn against him, he's always going to be there, ready to give his love. So that's something that I just love to encourage to people, is just remember, he's sweeter than honey.
That is incredible. Yeah. I love that so much, Mia. And I love all that you've kind of shared with us today. Just the privilege to be able to speak with you. I know you're busy with all the things you've got going on with your band, with being worship leader. Did you get to take a break this week?
Like at camp?
Or work?
No. I had to work on the side, which is totally fine. But
ministry is life, not work. Oh, that's incredible. I really appreciate you taking the time to come here then. One, to the San Luis Resort, because the kids are absolutely stoked to have you, because your voice is just incredible. And we walk in the room and already know that the Spirit's going to be moving, especially because we can sense that the Lord's working in and through you. And so we're really appreciative to have you, one, here at Summit this year, but two, here on the podcast. And
Thank you for having me.
guys, I will make sure to link all of the information towards Mia's hats and towards her albums right down below. Also, probably her Instagram, because y'all can check out if she's as cool as I think she is, because I think she's a total vibe.
So funny.
But her friends might think differently. So, hi, friends. I think that Mia's cool.
That's so funny.
But we will see you guys next time here on the studio. Bye for now.
Bye.